Have you guys heard about McDonald's Japan's adult cream pie?
No.
Are you serious, dude? No, what is that?
I'm dead serious. McDonald's Japan released a, like an apple pie, but it's a cream pie. But they called it, the adult cream pie.
That's amazing.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Broadcasting live from inside the power band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, the Wolverine, along with the intrepid prototrope Jarhigo.
The Jarhigo machine, 100%.
Nice. And the always awesome algorithm.
Howdy.
Howdy. Folks, welcome to the podcast, The Cowboy. Igo. Scrimshaw. The PEM. Phototronic Electron Micro. I can't even remember what it stands for. Whatever. This week we're going to be talking about the 1987 classic Innerspace, starring Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, Meg Ryan, and a whole host of other delightful actors. Let's jump in.
Hey, when you guys get like a scratchy throat, do you ever wonder if Mr. Igo is in there?
Whoa, see, now that right there, yes, I do.
I probably did when I was a kid.
I still do sometimes.
For sure.
In that sweet little, like, single-man submarine pod that he had?
Yeah.
That he's like in a submarine pod in another submarine pod, which I thought was really funny.
He's in a scuba suit in a submarine pod.
That's it, scuba suit in a submarine pod.
A scuba suit jetpack submarine pod?
Yes, he did have a jetpack, which I thought was pretty tight. I loved how he was an expert at piloting the jetpack and the mini-sub. He was like a master of it. It's like, what are you, like, practicing? Are you practicing on the side?
Maybe it wasn't actually a pod. Maybe it was a hand attachment. The whole thing was just one giant hand attachment.
I don't know, dude. Nothing is better than the dildo hand attachment.
That was pretty good.
That was great, man. And I love how they showed just enough of a glimpse of it so you knew damn well what it was without making a big fuss about it.
Yeah, as if the buzzing sound wasn't enough.
It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness! Wow, we're sort of just diving into the
Dr. Canker.
Diving into the deep end here with Dr. Canker. What do we want to where do you want to start, algorithm?
Oh, I don't know. It's not. Where do you want to start, Jarhigo? This is a Jarhigo pick.
Yeah, this is a Jarhigo pick. Jarhigo, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's get some high level thoughts going.
Give it to us.
Well, I'm driving, man. I'm not supposed to be the first one to go.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. I did take some notes on this film, and like this movie is just such good fun. You know, it was like revisiting an old buddy. When I was a kid, I saw this movie, God, man, 30, 40 times.
Oh, dude, a million times.
Exactly. I know it so well, and it was so familiar and still so good. Like, it really held up well, and just such good fun. Great acting, great story. They really did a great job of combining a really great science fiction concept with a very funny story as well. It really had everything, man. The comedic chops were tight. Not just with Martin Short, but of course mainly from him. But like, the story was great. It had tension, you know. You were on the edge of your seat many times, wondering what was going to happen, you know. Like, it's just really, really well done.
And they jammed a lot of stuff into it too. Like,
they really did.
It's impressive how much is going on in that film.
No doubt. So that would sort of be my opening salvo.
Yeah, I think similarly, like, I echo everything Kev said. Same motorcycle and such. And then kind of my first impression of this viewing was it's been a good 20 years easy since I've seen it. And as it was getting rolling, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to spoil my nostalgia for this by watching it, because this doesn't seem all that good. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, this is great. So it really came good for me, and I was super stoked to watch it again.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen this movie. I feel like there's a time where it was just like super heavy rotation on HBO, and then, you know,
totally.
I think we had did a VHS recording of it as well, and I mean, I saw this movie so many fucking times. So many times the
quality of the VHS tape wore out, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, gone. I think my little Igo story there, like that came literally because I was home from school because I was sick, and I remember seeing the part where like Igo is like drilling away at the air tanks in Tuck's pod, and like the shavings are like making fucking Jack freak out, and I'm like at the same time I was like experiencing the same thing. I was like, I wonder if that's. So man, I love this flick, and much like you, Chad, I was a little worried that it wasn't going to hold up, but I mean, it literally took no time, and I was immediately just full delight mode.
Yeah, it totally came good real quick.
Definitely.
There's just so much ridiculousness so early that I was like, oh man, please don't fall apart. But like, even like the first, I don't want to go play by play yet, but the first thing is Tuck digging into a bowl of goldfish and getting a scotch. I was like, hey, where did the goldfish on the bars go? I haven't seen that in so long, and we need to bring the goldfish back, man. What the hell?
Right?
It's just so much ridiculousness.
It is, and it was a lot of tropey things in there too. Just like his whole apartment and lifestyle, like the sort of wild man military guy, it was like just crap all over his apartment and bottles of booze hidden in motorcycle engines that are just randomly sitting on dressers in his living room.
Yeah, giant fish in a sink, things that you would normally have laying around your house.
Yeah, exactly right.
Things that were in every goddamn 80s movie.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, totally. In every 80s movie.
Nice. So is that everybody's high level stuff? Damn, this is going to be a quick one.
Well, to add a tiny bit to it, I think like my memory's probably very vague, but I feel like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a bit more of an obsession for me at around the same time. I looked it up, and it turns out it came out like a year later. So I don't know whether I watched this one a million times before, during, or after, but I was in love with the idea of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids stuff. So this one definitely fit into that same niche for me back when I was a kid. Like the whole miniaturization thing seemed to be like a 5-year-long fad for so many people our age.
Yeah, it did.
Definitely, man. There was even I remember my cousins had the Intellevision game system.
Okay.
Ooh,
yeah, super nerdy.
Talk about throwbacks.
But there was this game, I think it was called Microsurgeon, where you were like a little pod going around in somebody's body. I couldn't tell you like what the hell the game was about. I just remember seeing it and being like, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, totally. Anytime I hear of or think of those old gaming systems, it reminds me of like an advertisement on one of the ridiculous channels of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is like the new blah 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 gaming system with a red square fights the yellow square. It's just like taking the piss out of how we were all obsessed with graphics, but it was just blips on a screen. It's so funny, man.
Yeah, dude, that was the Exorbio, man. How could you not remember that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah, the Exorbio was great.
Which one was that? Was that Vice City?
I think it was Vice City, yeah.
The Degenitron gaming system plays 3 exciting games, including Defender of the Faith, where you save the green dots with your fantastic flying red square. Cool! Monkey's Paradise.
And then it kept going. It was like, fight the evil red squares with your green triangle ship, like...
Yeah.
Like all the games had red square, green triangle.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the only two things. It would have to be Vice City, man, because Vice City did take place in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that, though. I'm sure, Microsurgeon was just like a dark maroon background with a light maroon body cavity, and then just like a blip moving around. Like that's what I imagine.
It was actually pretty, it was pretty
robust,
pretty detailed. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really badly aliased veins and guts and stuff going on. I just remember you go up to the guy's head and you could see the inside of his mouth and the nose cavity and the eyeball and all that stuff in the brain and so yeah, it was actually fairly detailed. But I mean, it was very. I think the Intellevision had slightly better graphical capabilities than the Atari 2600, but not by much.
Slightly. Yeah. The Coleco was the one that had the really good graphics. Like Donkey Kong looked exactly like the arcade. I remember that because I was like, oh my God.
I think there's a potential transition there I was very surprised with how well the effects held up on this one.
Yes.
It's been so long that I was just like, yeah, I remember the point of the movie and I remember the plot at a very high level, but similar to like even just like the original Blade Runner, so much of the practical stuff just really held up. I mean, obviously it's very different than a Blade Runner, but super impressive stuff.
Yeah, it won an Oscar for visual effects.
Yeah. I saw that it won an Oscar and I didn't realize, but it beat Aliens for an Oscar for visual effects, which was like, whoa.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising, but it was Dennis Muren did the VFX. And Dennis Muren worked on the original Star Wars. He worked on Terminator 2. He worked on a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, right. I miss the old practical days.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, all that stuff. So, yeah, Dennis Muren was, a master. He was like one of those original guys at ILM that was helping George Lucas create his vision. I was really, really psyched to not talk about Star Wars today, and I just talked about Star Wars. Sorry.
Is that a death? Is that an early death?
I'm going to say a death by Star Wars, yeah.
Death by Star Wars.
Force choked.
Death by Snoo Snoo.
Death by Yusa.
Oh
no.
On the effects, like aside from the body effects, I was very stoked with like the pod and the lab setup. It had a very like kind of Back to the Future-y, old school prop kind of feel, which I really enjoyed seeing too. There's just so much throwback nostalgia to this in terms of like they don't make them like they used to, that I really enjoyed watching it again.
I love the contrast between the labs too, like the
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the hell was the organization that
Vectorscope.
Vectorscope lab was like, kind of clunky and like, clearly like first iteration, prototype version. But then like, Scrimshaw's like slick future 80s, like, it's just like a roll up thing. That,
definitely.
Like, it's just like a Venetian blind that rolls down into the floor and like, like climb in and
a creatively installed garage door.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The Vectorscope lab felt like it was like crammed into the back of Storage B. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On some side street, And they both had plenty of gold and silver foil lining things, which is really important in the 80s.
Taking a bit of a Apollo lander kind of vibe.
Exactly.
But the other one, like you were saying, Benny, is like jumps out at me as like the Willy Wonka TV floating through the air thing.
I'm not getting that reference.
I'm not getting that either.
The Willy Wonka where the kid loves TV and they like teleport a chocolate bar and they're in a giant white room with all their white robes on and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because it's like super clean white room kind of thing.
Oh, you mean Scrimshaw's lab had that feel to it?
Yeah, Scrimshaw's lab.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chad is now dead.
I'm dead, I think, yeah.
For future reference, all Willy Wonka references will be completely lost on me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I had to take one for the team then.
Why is that, Jarhigo? Do you want to share with the folks at home?
I just not a fan. Never was.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It wasn't like a thing. I feel like for a lot of families that was a thing that like,
Yeah.
It just never was. And then like I saw it way, much like Bill Burr with Star Wars.
I was just going to say that. Exactly the same thing.
Back to Star Wars. I didn't get it until later in life. And I was just like, this is fucking weird. I don't like it.
This makes me uncomfortable.
That's a shame. That's a classic, but I get it. You missed the wave. You missed the wave.
It's like the one role I didn't like Gene Wilder in, I mean, so.
Wow.
Well, we got to add that one to the list. I want to hear you shit on it for 30 minutes.
God, don't make me do that.
The enthusiasm makes me want to put it on even more.
Yeah. The fervor. Where were we?
I was dying.
Yo, right. You were dying with the Willy Wonka reference.
Yeah.
And I brought up Star Wars again.
Yeah. I think the new rule should be the first person to bring up Star Wars in any episode dies. It doesn't need to be every Star Wars reference. It's just that,
I like that.
First person to do it gets the old chopping block.
Yeah, the VFX definitely they suspend your disbelief perfectly, you know. There's never a point in the film where like you're jarred out of the what's going on by like, oh, that doesn't look real, you know.
Yeah.
It's all like quite convincing, and it really definitely still holds up nowadays.
Yes, absolutely.
And not only does it continue the suspension of disbelief, but it also is like, so the visual effects are so strong that you can have a main character in a pod not interacting with anyone else face to face for the entire movie, and it doesn't seem out of place.
Right.
You know, like that's a tough role, you know, for what's his name again?
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. That's a tough role for Dennis Quaid, man. He's got like 5 minutes of normal movie screen time, and then it's just him in a freaking little pod, you know? And I didn't find myself getting pulled out at all for that. And it seems super plausible considering, you know, the source material or whatever, but it's an impressive feat.
Yeah, I always really liked the way he establishes communication with Martin Short, or Jack Putter as the character is. But, you know, just the whole, like, you know, the camera, like, behind the eyes so he can see what's going on, and then, you know, attaching that little thing to a bone in his ear so he can, like, pick up what's going on outside and communicate with him. Like, I always loved that about this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's so many layers to this movie, you know, because even though Martin Short plays the funny man, like, there's a whole transformation of that character to being, you know, just really a total basket case into becoming, like, you know, the man that he always wanted to be. You know what I mean? The guy that gets the girl, the cool guy, even though he doesn't get the girl at the end, but he gets his confidence, you know? And I really like that layer of this film. You know, you see a guy who lives in, I mean, just a classic, crappy, teeny 80s apartment. Like, that was one of my notes. I was like, my God, this apartment sucks.
That's like a glorified hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so small and so shitty, dude. And I just love that. And, you know, working at Safeway, the assistant manager, you know, and by the end of the film, he's like jumping in the convertible to go save Tuck again.
Yeah. And his boss is the perfect boss, and annoying coworker is perfect.
Yeah. Mr. Wormwood. My opening note is when Jack flips out at the register. And so I was a huge Martin Short fan in the 80s. I was one of the people that my cast that I grew up on Saturday Night Live was the 84, 85, Chris Guest, Harry Shearer, Martin Short, Rich Hall, Jim Belushi, Julie Louis-Dreyfus was in there. It was obscure, and they were only around for like one season, but I thought it was hysterical. I still think about those sketches from that particular season. And Martin Short had, you know, Ed Grimley and Jackie Rogers Jr. and all these great characters that he created. He was just so brilliant, man. And this movie really showcases his brilliance as a comedic actor, a dramatic actor, just an actor in general. He's just fantastic, man. And like, he had this like twitchy nervousness that he would add to a lot of his characters that was fantastic, like Ed Grimley and this character. And when he flips out at the register and starts screaming for aspirin and then starts dumping it down his throat, it's just, it's so funny, man. And it was funny watching it last night. Like,
Jack, get a hold of yourself, Jack.
I need some aspirin.
What?
Please, I'm begging you for some aspirin!
Oh, hi! I'm not buying that aspirin now!
$800 a bottle, who'd want to?
Jack, you're becoming unglued. You're coming apart at the seams, Jack. Oh, my God, he's completely spaced out.
All right, let me handle this. Jack.
I used to laugh at it when I watched it in the 80s, and it was just as funny watching it last night, which I love.
Yeah. And those kind of bits don't really happen as much anymore either. So there's definitely a sprinkling of nostalgia there too.
Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt.
And it's totally over the top, the performance, but it's the kind of thing that like only Martin Short could pull off. I kept thinking throughout the film that like, I don't know if there's anybody else that could have pulled that role off.
No.
I don't think so, man.
There was rumblings that Robin Williams was in contention, but he would have overdone it, I think.
Meh. Yeah, he would have overdone it. And he I don't know, he was too cool. You know what I mean? Like, even back then, like, I don't know, Martin Short has a nerdier quality inherently than Robin Williams does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That made him way more perfect. And, I just want to comment on what one of you just said, is that, yes, it was over the top, but somehow, and this is one of the things I love about Martin Short, is that the fact that the guy was a hypochondriac and all of that, it makes it somewhat believable that somebody would flip out like that and start trying to guzzle aspirin,
And then it gets even more believable as he, finds out he has a small pod inside of his body. Like, that would be pretty freaky. And, I really liked his screaming in the waiting room, "I'm possessed" scene with some of his former cast members. This is just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had I can't remember that guy's name, the actor's name.
The dude from Happy Gilmore?
Dude, that's exactly what I wrote in my notes. I go, the Red Lobster guy from Happy Gilmore is in this movie.
Yeah. I saw him, I was like, whoa.
Because he kept saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he kept saying, he was either saying, let's go to Red Lobster or let's go to Sizzler, to Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. So good, man. Yeah, that guy was really funny. And, just the dynamic of Tuck talking to him in the beginning and him talking back, and then the people around him in his environment reacting to him was just perfectly done, and very great showcase of comedic timing and all of that sort of thing, and again, Martin Short, he's the man for that.
In the grocery store scene, Wendy and Mr. Wormwood, playing alongside him, just that little trio, and all the shenanigans in the supermarket are fucking great. The way that they played off of Martin Short was just fucking great. Really, really funny stuff.
Oh, brilliantly, dude. Henry Gibson is the guy that played Mr. Wormwood, and he's been in a million things. If you go look him up on IMDb or Wiki, his credits are vast. He was in everything, and you literally would see him everywhere, certainly in the 80s and the 90s, but even, going far back into the 70s, even the 60s. He played the head Illinois Nazi in Blues Brothers, which was a very memorable role of his, but he was in episodes of The Fall Guy, episodes of Magnum, episodes of Knight Rider, you name it, Gremlins 2. He's been in everything.
Everything, man.
Really good stuff. And then Wendy Schaal,
Wendy Schaal, and the character's name was Wendy.
Yeah, Wendy Schaal was in a bunch of Joe Dante's movies, like Small Soldiers and something else. I can't remember what. She played the perfect 80s bitch.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm hotter than you, and I'm not going to give you the time of day, but I'm going to kind of string you along, and I smoke a lot and put my cigarettes out in coffee, and she just played a perfect 80s bitch. I loved her, man. She was great. And I loved at the end when Martin Short's I
love that she gets her comeuppance.
Exactly. When Martin Short goes, Wendy, not a chance. It's so great.
I totally forgot that she came back in the nightclub sequence, and I really got a kick out of, her dressed up like, a Madonna 80s kind of dance club.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, the nerdy dude shows up at a dance club and all of a sudden he's like a sex god in her eyes. You're like, oh, you're double life. And it's just he's just standing in front of a nightclub. It's not that big of a deal, It's super funny.
Right.
Yeah. No. Exactly right. It was great.
Right. She's intrigued by his mysterious double life.
But it's the same shit. He's just wearing an ill-fitting jacket.
Yeah.
and having a hot Meg Ryan with him,
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Circling back a little bit, maybe to touch on the Dennis Quaid, but the opening kind of bit with him being a drunk and then her taking him home. I thought it was so funny where he makes a complete ass of himself, gets home, and then just puts on a song and it makes it all better and he can start kissing. She'd just be like, screw you, dude. It was so funny, man.
Yeah. Right.
That is total 80s right there, come on, babe.
Don't play our song.
I'm just gonna throw on Cupid, man. It'll be fine.
And then he's naked on a street in San Francisco with a taxi driver or whatever. It was just great.
Yeah. And the taxi driver. That guy has been in everything.
I believe, I'm trying to think of what the hell is it? It's Dick Miller, I think is the guy's name.
It is Dick Miller.
Apparently Dick Miller has been in every Joe Dante movie.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And so is Wendy Schaal. She's been in almost every movie he's done as well. But yeah, Dick Miller, he showed up not only in all of Joe Dante's movies, but like I just feel like that guy was everywhere, especially in the 80s. He played the gun shop owner. I'm such a loser, dude. Like this
Plasma rifle with the 40-watt range.
Exactly, dude.
Just what you see, pal.
Anything else?
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
Hey, just what you see, pal.
The Uzi 9mm.
You know, gun shop owner from Terminator. Great. He was just great. A great character actor. He was all over the place.
All of these various smaller roles in this really reminded me of how often you'd see so many of these people in so many movies. It definitely harkens back to a different time.
Oh, yeah, man. Totally.
It really does. But all the like more minor roles in the film they're terrific. You know, everybody they got was really great. Like really memorable even just for a small part, you know, like Dick Miller is a cab driver, you know, like totally memorable. He's in the film for what, like a minute at tops? Yeah.
Yeah, same with Henry Gibson as Mr. Wormwood, dude. Like that guy's great.
Yeah, the kidnapper even, the dude that comes in to deliver Jack Putter's vacation tickets or whatever, his cruise tickets.
Yeah, where have I seen that guy? Wasn't he in Police Academy?
Dude, he's super familiar. I cannot place him.
Which guy? Which kidnapper guy?
When Jack Putter goes back to his crappy little apartment.
Oh, yeah. The delivery guy.
The delivery guy shows up, exactly.
I'm just Jimmy Googling for a second.
Why don't you guys go ahead and Google that for me? Enhance.
I saw in the trivia section of IMDb that Chuck Jones is one of the customers in the line at the supermarket. So Chuck Jones, like the animator who created like Roadrunner and
serious?
All these. Yeah.
What?
Really?
He's got a cameo in the movie because evidently there's like tons of Warner Brothers sound effects used throughout the movie. And so I think it was like a throwback to the director's love for Warner Brothers kind of Looney Tunes. It was just a cool little nugget I stumbled on.
That's a cool nugget. Yeah, that is a cool nugget.
Well, that's a tasty nugget.
It makes me want to watch the film again just to listen for the different sound effects and stuff. Because it's almost like you would have watched so many Looney Tunes growing up that they would just become like deeply embedded in your psyche. So they would just feel like the right sound effect at the time in a movie, but you wouldn't realize that you're listening to Looney Tunes stuff.
Yeah, nothing stuck out at me, so
yeah, same.
I'm curious now.
Yes, I knew that guy was in Police Academy. It's Archie Hahn. He was in Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach, which was absolutely terrible. With the exception of Janet Jones was in it, who is just a super fox.
Didn't we...
Cul-de-sac. Turning around. Let's go.
Didn't we at one point discuss doing the entirety of the Police Academy series?
We should seriously consider doing that.
Maybe.
Yeah. It got up to 15, though, didn't it?
Curse of Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15, right. Steve Gutenberg was like, he got to 6 and he was like, what am I thinking here?
Thinking about your paycheck is what you're thinking about.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. So where are we off to next?
The enter Mr. Igo. That's what happens next. Igo enters.
Oh, yeah.
So we see Vernon Wells, which is great because he's Australian and he's an Australian actor. And Chad lives in Australia. I don't really know why that's a big deal.
I try to pretend to be Australian.
He tries to pretend to be Australian. But Vernon Wells, he played Bennett, of course, in Commando, a EBD favorite.
Put the knife in me.
Let off some steam, Bennett. He was also
let the girl go.
Crazy marauder in The Road Warrior.
Totally.
And what else, man? God, I felt like he was all over the place at this period of time too. I found it interesting that he had no lines in the movie other than when he screams when he dies inside of Jack Putter at the end. Like he literally had no lines.
Jack, you just digested the bad guy.
A little burp.
Yeah. He just had an interchangeable dildo hand.
I mean, if you could have one, you would.
Snap on, man.
If you could have one, you would too.
You would.
I love that. The license plate was Snap-on. Totally.
Yeah.
I love how he's some big kind of Terminator-y dude, and then all of a sudden he's got like a Dr. Claw. It's just like, oh, okay, yep. And he shot a bullet out of his finger and scared the little boy with the balloon. It's just so like, yes, I like this.
Yeah, man. despite the complete lack of lines, he really, really brought that character to life.
Oh, definitely.
That was apparently another one where they had started off with somebody else and ended up with him. And it's another one of those roles where I couldn't really imagine anybody else doing it.
Yeah.
No way. Who were front runners for that role besides Vernon Wells?
They had somebody else that they shot a bunch of the movie with, and it just wasn't working out. I don't remember what the name of the actor was.
No, I saw rumblings that it was like he wasn't imposing enough. He was like similar build to Martin Short, so it kind of didn't work visually or something like that.
Right.
Wow, that's an interesting tidbit right there. Yeah, Vernon Wells, just great. Love it.
I didn't recognize him, which is probably ridiculous of me to say, but
well, you know what, Chad? I gotta be honest with you. I didn't recognize that it was Vernon Wells until I watched it yesterday.
Right.
So all the time that I watched it, all those times in the 80s, I never put it together that it was the same guy from Road Warrior and Commando, and that is an egregious thing for me because. I always pick those things up like instantaneously.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and I'm wondering if it's because maybe he didn't have any lines in it, and like maybe did Commando come out afterwards? I definitely remembered him from Commando.
I know we talked about this chronology at one point when we did Raw Deal, but
85.
Commando was 85. This was 87.
I bet you it was the glasses. It's the sweet sunnies that made it hard to recognize him.
No, it wasn't just that, Chad. It was the fact that he had his hair dyed black as well.
He looks like such a Goomba.
He does. Absolutely looks like a Goomba.
He was apparently channeling Arnold in the Terminator through that whole role. That was like,
which is so great.
That was his template, which seems pretty obvious.
Which is even better now that we've determined that Commando came out before this, so he would have worked right alongside Arnie prior to filming this.
Totally. But, I mean, Igo was great. Like, I mean, of course, the snap-on hands were awesome. The one with the bullet, the dildo. All of that. Got to talk about the dildo.
Flamethrower.
And a wine opener. They had a wine opener.
Wine opener. Yeah, that's right. He had the wine opener. And, but he also just, like, the way, like, he was really smooth in the way that he, like, went about his various different tasks, like when he's in the restaurant and she whips out the taser, he moves Jack over to the side and then pulls him back over again and she shoots Jack. Then he just, kind of very smoothly throws him over his shoulder, walks outside. There's a guy unloading meat off of a freezer truck and he just, swings Jack's body around, hits the guy in the face with Jack's feet, knocks that guy out, closes the door, jumps in the cab. Like, just, it was all so smooth, man, the way he did everything. It was great. Putting so much into a character who doesn't speak a single line in the film. You were able to get so much about that particular character just from watching him do what he did. And I love that.
Yeah, he's great. There's a good transition there to the freezer truck stunt guy sequence if you wanted to go that way with it.
Yeah, let's go there and then we'll jump backwards. Go ahead. I noticed that too. You mean the guy on the door?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed the stunts, like it was such an old school stunt sequence. And that whoever it was that was hanging onto the side of that meat truck, man, was getting shit did.
Oh, he definitely was getting shit did. And then what about the motorcycle guy that goes flying through underneath him? I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah, dude goes down through the middle, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a great little sequence. And it was just like, Beverly Hills Cop style, giant truck bumbling down the road kind of trope from the 80s.
Yeah, it's super old school tropey stunt work, like 80s stunt work, but it's so well done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that the stunt work was tropied, Ben. I would just say that the scene is tropey. Like the sequence of like, the car pulls up and it's like, hey, jump in. Wait, I can't. This guy's grabbing me. I'm on the door. Like that's been done to death for sure.
Of course, you are correct.
Yeah. But that's what you were going for, I think, Benny.
That's what I meant. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for telling me what I meant.
Yes. Anytime. I'll happily interrupt you and tell you your intentions.
All right, so let's jump backwards to Jack going to the doctor. We already mentioned the possession scene, which was great. And that whole bit of dialogue there with the Red Lobster guy from Happy Gilmore and that other woman was just a great little comedic sequence. And then he goes into the doctor, and the doctor is great. That guy's been in a ton of stuff. William Schallert, Dr. Greenbush. That guy was so funny, man. Like, if you really listen to what he's saying to Jack, it's really, really funny. Like, he tells him basically that the cornerstone of his practice is treating Jack's hypochondria, which I love, dude.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you put my kids through college. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Jack's going through this, like, laundry list of things that it could be. I'm hearing voices, all this sort of stuff. And the doc is like, and Jack's like, yeah, demon possession. And the doc's like, well, demons typically speak through you, Jack, not to you. Like, I love how he was so up on demon possession and all these other things that he needed to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had a good back and forth quite a few times.
Yeah, I like the doc.
And similarly, there's the not comeuppance at the end, but it's him being like, I'm cured, Doc. It's just, I love how they tie everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doc, I'm cured. Wendy, not a chance. Mr. Wormwood, I quit. Jack Putter to the rescue. The next note I had was the noises they make when they're drinking the whiskey. I don't know why that jumped out at me, but like, he takes a drink and they're just making all these really goofy, funny noises, both of them. It's like, and glug and this and that. And I don't know.
Well, it's the first time Jack's ever gotten drunk and he dances around like Tom Cruise. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Totally. I know. He dances around. There was a lot of Ed Grimley
in there, yeah.
Yes, total Ed Grimley in that.
Yeah, I liked the mechanic of, like, Tuck Pendleton asking Jack Putter to have a drink and then, like, having the flask out with the little robot arm, like, to collect it.
Sticks out the side.
I was like, that's kind of gross, but all right, yeah, I suppose that's how you would do it,
If you're a drunk.
Well, I mean, it would be full of backwash and, all of that.
As a parent to a young toddler, you get used to eating regurgitated food and drinks with floaties in it, so it's fine.
Yeah, you need a drink, man. You need a drink.
That's it.
Wow, Chad.
Hey, I'm going there. Your kid's like, oh, can I have a sip of your water? It's like, I would love for you to spit half of your sandwich into my water. Here you go, kid.
Oh my God. I guarantee you that'll be in the sizzle reel right there.
Hey, gotta feed the beast.
Next up, I believe, is Enter the Cowboy. Well, actually, before that, I think it's important to point out that, again, this film is populated by, like, the smaller roles are filled with a lot of great actors, like Mark Taylor, who plays Dr. Niles. And that guy has been in everything, right? And then Lydia's editor is none other than Orson Bean, who played Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, the original 80s animated classic, which in my opinion is still one of the best versions of that story. Because that version had John Huston as Gandalf and his voice was amazing. And it also had, this was the bar for me for Gollum, so it's still the best. Is the Gollum in that animated movie is the best Gollum, in my opinion, period, ever.
Oh, who are you? Bless us, my precious. A tasty morsel, it would make us. What is it, my precious?
If you'll allow the shortest of cul-de-sacs ever, I stumbled across a Reddit thread that linked to Sir Ian McKellen's diary from when they were filming Lord of the Rings. It's like his blog from the year 2000, which I was reading over the last couple of days, and it's fantastic. I would highly recommend it. I'll link it.
Wow, yeah.
But yeah, the editor has such a small role, but he was in so much stuff.
Totally. And I always thought he was a British actor, but he's not. He's an American actor.
There you have it.
Interesting name, Orson Bean.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's like Sean Bean's dad. Anyway, the cowboy comes in next.
Perhaps Michael Bean?
Michael Bean.
Yes. Mr. Bean?
Nice.
Mr.
Bean, totally. So yeah, we're at the point where the cowboy enters the film.
I found the cowboy so confusing on this rewatch because he came on, as with so many of these people that come on screen for the first time, like, I know that guy from a million things, and I just couldn't place him.
Right.
I couldn't place him. And I love how he's like a fake Russian cowboy with like a little like afro, and it's just such a ridiculous costuming choice, and it works so perfectly.
Oh my God. he's so ambiguously South American, Central American, and Middle Eastern at the same time. Like, that's the beauty of it, I think.
With like a sprinkling of, Russian,
With a sprinkling of Russian, there you go. But he's Robert Picardo. I mean, I would say his highest profile role is probably the Doctor on Voyager, right, Ben? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's who I remembered him from.
The holographic Doctor.
Yep, sorry, the holograph, the EMH program.
The EMH program, yes.
That's the thing. I looked through his IMDb, and that was the only role that I was like, oh, yeah, everything else is like, I have no idea what any of this stuff is.
Yeah, I don't know what a lot of his other stuff is either. I certainly haven't seen it, but of course, the Voyager, that was great. In fact, when I started watching Voyager when it came out, and I saw that he was the EMH, I was like, oh, yeah, cowboys in the house, yo.
That was exactly what I thought. I was like, cowboy!
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought too, man. Good stuff.
Howdy, Big Jack. Don't knock. Just come in.
So cheesy, man. Like he made that character so big and so cheesy and so stupid, man. But somehow it just worked so great in the movie. It really, really did. I mean, the ridiculous boots. Did you notice that he had like pink and white, like cowhide suitcases? And then one of them had a boom box built into it.
And like 50 pairs of boots.
Yeah. And then he's like, exactly. He's trying on like, 20 pairs of boots and throwing them all over the room like a teenage girl. Like, it was just, it's so stupid.
His little battery powered polisher for his spurs and his
Oh, yeah.
So there's great little like travel gadgets and goofy stuff.
Yeah. They really put a lot of thought into like the details, of each character and scene. Like, it was really great like that, Women love me. Just whatever.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, because that scene where they're dancing in the nightclub, I really, really loved, and especially when it's like cowboy dancing with Meg Ryan and Tuck Pendleton's like smashing chicken nuggets in the pod. It was just such a funny sequence.
But I also loved how like Meg Ryan was like, I like her sort of like her Robin to her being Batman at the paper. He comes in and he's like, I just heard the cowboy's coming to town. It's like, how would you hear that the cowboy is coming to town? Like, where are you getting this information? Like some network of journalists or something? A secret intelligence cabal of journalists? Like, oh, it's so great, man. Just like such goofy fun, but somehow it was like,
just push the plot forward.
It did, but like I loved that, like, no matter how goofy this movie got, it was always totally forgivable. And you're like, oh yeah, it's great,
Oh, for sure.
And my God, Meg Ryan's hair is just, I want to say soaked, but soaked implies it's wet. Her hair was like plastic with hairspray, 80s hairspray. It was so terrible.
Dude, you would have cut yourself if you touched that hair.
Yeah, you absolutely would have hurt yourself.
Very 80s. Kind of hot.
Yeah, it was.
I love how she's like not in on the whole Tuck Pendleton inside Jack at all. It's a big secret. Don't tell her anything. And then all of a sudden his face changes and she's just like, what the hell, man? Like it goes from 0 to 60 so fast.
Yeah, it really does. And, another thing that was great about that club scene was, like Wendy is just like finishes a cigarette, takes out another one, lights the new one with the last bit of the old one. Like that you just don't see that anymore. And it was great,
And speaking of hairspray, solid hair, I remember as a kid, I was worried that she was just going to just go up on one of the lightings of one of those cigarettes, that she was just going to explode in flames. Oh, man.
Totally, man.
Yeah, absolutely. The movie was so 80s that Meg Ryan's got hairspray hair, and then later on, hairspray becomes a plot point for the sneeze towards the end. It's like, who the hell would pull a can of hairspray out of their purse these days?
Yes. Yeah, I know. And then I love how the first lab technician pulled out moose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a gimmick.
Never see that anymore. A moose. What a stupid name for a product, man. Moose. But yeah, Wendy's hair also was in like, I don't think we've ever seen this in any other decade, nor will we. It was totally crimped.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it had that like kind of like jagged waviness, like whatever. So terrible, man.
You know that's coming back now that you've said that.
Yeah, exactly.
So not only was it coated in a flame accelerant, it was also dried like twigs.
Totally.
Exactly.
Right. And those are the kind of people that are like, why is my hair so dry when they go to this salon? It's like, because you coat it in chemicals every day.
God damn it.
I tell you, my hero of this movie is one of the smallest roles. And the actor's name is Jason Lasky, or Lasky. He played one of the henchmen of Victor Scrimshaw. And he just, like, he had some great dopey comedic bits. And he was always really putting as much as he possibly could into this really infinitesimal role. And he really nailed it, man. Like, I love when she grabs her bag when they have her captured and he grabs it away and she's like, I was going to get some lipstick. And he was like, yeah, after I check for nail files.
This just gets torched.
I'm like, nail files? She didn't even have handcuffs on.
Yeah.
Like, well, what is she going to saw through with a nail file? You know, like it was so
plot.
great and so stupid. Yeah, right. The plot. Exactly.
Is he the one that passes out when he sees Scrimshaw and Kanker miniaturized?
Yes, he does. Yeah, he's the same one.
The Oompa Loompas. Another Willy Wonka reference for you, Benny.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. I got you.
I did get that one, though.
Kev's about to bring in a Batman reference, so hold your breath.
No, I'm not bringing in a Batman reference. I was just going to say he, like, you know, when they do the big meet for the chip, you know, with Martin Short as the cowboy, he's like, you know, indicating for Meg Ryan to sit in this chair over here. I was like, way to go, dude. You're really just giving it your all in this teeny little role. I love it. It was really great. And he was funny. He just had like a bunch of dopey moments like that. The nail file thing just knocked it out of the park for me, though.
Yeah, and he gets zapped and then passes out. He like falls straight down and then his face just passes out on her bag. Like it's the most ridiculous fall over scene, too.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
What the hell are they eating in that scene where, you know...
Oh, my God, right?
The Martin... It's like they're eating, like, raw eggs and, like, tortilla chips or something? Like, what the fuck?
It's so 80s, though, man.
It is. It is, somehow.
It was like sticks of, like, zucchini in raw egg. And then, you know, the whole thing when Jack spills it was just too funny. He was so like, intent on cleaning up the mess.
Yeah. That was some very tricky acting going on from Robert Picardo there. He was like the dude playing the dude pretending to be another dude.
Pretending to be him. Yeah.
So awesome.
The meals, the egg yolk meals really reminded me of like a Patrick Bateman restaurant, you know, like from American Psycho. You know, like they go into these restaurants and get served the weirdest shit and like the worst decor ever.
Yes. Horribly 80s decor. Yes, absolutely. I didn't get the whole, like, I love Victor Scrimshaw. I mean, what a great name for a villain, Scrimshaw.
With his Sub-Zero license plate.
What is up with the whole, like, I didn't get the whole white with the Sub-Zero thing. Like, it wasn't like he had freeze powers, you know, or he wasn't always like freezing people to death. Like they rode in a meat truck, but it only happened that they rode in a meat truck because Igo happened to steal a meat truck. Like it wasn't.
It's like missing backstory for the character or something.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of missing backstory there.
Although he does seem to have like pretty heavy duty tolerance for the cold because he's in the back of that meat truck with Jack, and Jack is like, there's like he's turning blue and there's like frost on his face, you know, and
Scrimshaw's just hanging out, smoking a cigar, waxing poetic. Yeah, I know, it's so ridiculous, man.
I love that corner office of his too, where it's like the stupidest Zoolander style office, and then it zooms out and it's just like an unfurnished warehouse. I love it.
Yeah, except for that one teeny corner.
Yeah.
Even went so far as to, like, you know, have the pink light everywhere to give it all that pink accenting, you know. So stupid, man. So stupid and so 80s.
How fantastic an addition was the, like, 50% shrinkage of those guys, and then, like,
loved it.
The little people car fight. It's like one of my favorite action sequences, man.
The car fight is so good.
I was going to say they did a really good job with the forced perspective and all that stuff, the miniatures. Like, it was really well done. Like, I mean, that's a really hard scene to pull off. Like, 50% miniature humans fighting normal-sized humans. Like, how the hell would you do that, man?
Yeah, so legit. And like, it was so funny, too. Like, Meg Ryan just bitch slaps the short red-haired girl, and and then the other dude gets a Three Stooges eye poke. It's just like, it's the most slapstick thing ever, dude.
Yeah, that was great. God. Dr. Canker.
Oh, so good.
Dr. Canker.
I know, what a horrible name. Like, that sounds like a venereal disease or a canker sore, you know? Like, terrible, terrible name.
Dr. Margaret Canker.
So, I have a theory that I wanted to propose.
Oh boy, let's go.
So, I propose that this movie is actually an Ant Man prequel, and the baby inside Lydia is Hank Pym.
Dude.
And I propose this because it was secretly directed by Jon Favreau to launch the MCU, and Joe Dante is actually a pen name.
Wow.
So I think it's a Disney Marvel conspiracy theory, and this actually launched the MCU because this is such an Ant-Man movie.
Sure, I'll buy it.
Hang on 1 second.
Hanging on.
Holding.
No, I was just looking up what Favreau was doing in 87, but he didn't hit the scene until 92 in Rudy. That was his first film.
I think this is the first time in the show history that I've been murdered by Kev. Like, I was really hoping that would land better than like a 5-minute silence.
Hey, man, you had to get your comeuppance sometime. You've murdered me often.
I guess.
So what is that? What is that, Death by Rudy?
Yeah, exactly.
Death by Favreau.
Death by Rudy. That does seem like the Ant-Man movies are definitely spiritual successors to this film, don't you think?
Oh, for sure.
The you know, definitely. There's a similar spirit going on there.
Oh, most definitely. Very, very cool, too. I like that. I like that theory.
All right.
Sorry, I just took too long looking up what Favreau was doing.
No. I've got another one. That you can kill me.
Oh, shit.
Well, can I just say that I like your theory about the Ant-Man thing? I think that's solid, dude.
Yeah.
Go. What's the next one?
The next one is it's actually also a movie in the ACU, which is the Arnold Cinematic Universe, because the dream lady that pulls out the lighter gun was actually Arnold in a Total Recall style costume. And he was in the movie because he had to kill Benny.
He had to kill Bennett.
Yeah. So he's been sent back in time to kill Bennett.
Wow. Dude, that sounds like something I would come up with. Yes, I like it a lot. That lady that pulled out that little gun was in a ton of stuff in the 80s, too.
Oh, she's in a million things.
Yeah. She played Enid Borden in Dragnet.
They never discuss Jack Putter's clairvoyance.
Right?
In the movie. Like, clearly, like, he dreamed that whole thing. He had like a premonition of the entire scene before it happened, and then it came true. But then, like, it never happens again in the movie.
Yeah, word for word. Maybe he's Miss Cleo.
Yeah, that was weird.
Y'all remember Miss Cleo?
Oh, I remember Miss Cleo, man. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't believe you just name dropped her. Wow.
I can't believe I just name dropped her either. Just like popped into my head.
I know. What is going on, dude? Wow.
Was Miss Cleo like a dial-a-psychic?
Yeah. She was a dial-a-psychic. Like, she had her moment in like what was that, like the early 2000s, Chad, or the 90s?
She had her moment at 2 a.m. on MTV on October 7th, 1999.
Yeah, exactly. Miss Cleo. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Whatever.
Oh, God.
You know, hey, Betty, did you notice the car that Pete Blanchard was driving at the end when they're like, we got to get the vector scope? And they jump in the car. He's like, Lydia, come on. And they jump in the car and they go to vector scope to re-enlarge Tuck. Did you notice the car?
Was it a K car?
It was a white with a tan, like, Landau roof K car. Totally, dude. Oh, it was awful. I was like, yeah, baby.
Yeah. There's some outside of the Mustang. There's some serious 80s-tastic vehicles in this film.
80s-tastic. That Beamer that Igo drove was awesome. That was a 6 Series coupe, I believe. I remember that thing. From the 80s. I always thought that thing was really cool. That was a great classic Beamer, man.
Boxy. It's got like the pig nose grill. Super cool.
You know what? I had a note about robotic arms.
Yeah, totally.
Like, did you guys pick that up?
Yeah,
like
100% picked that
up. I mean, I don't see how you couldn't really. It was so front and center. Like, there's so many robotic arms that are needed to do the most ridiculously unnecessary tasks. Like, not just the PEM chips, but also the like the door. You know, on the sliding tonneau covered door for the miniaturizer in Scrimshaw's lab. Do you like that, Ben? You know, it's like there has to be a robotic arm to lower that. And then there's a robotic arm to put the PEM chip in Scrimshaw's lab, and a robotic arm to put the PEM chip in Vectorscope. Like, it's just the robotic arms were just everywhere. It was so stupid.
It was so dumb, and yet at the end they make fun of themselves, which was great.
Right, yeah. When he just grabs the chip out of the robot's hand and he puts it in, he gets shot. Just, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know. I like that. That was good. I loved how the actor who played the robotic arm operator, like he played that so perfectly. Like all the scenes where he was in with the robotic arm and everybody was like getting exasperated about it. He always had like the funniest look on his face. Sort of like deadpan kind of.
Totally.
I don't know. It's just funny.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it the only person that actually had any patience for the robotic arms?
Right. Well, he loved the robotic arm. Like, that was like his baby. He probably built it in his basement.
He probably did. Evidently, all the lab people were actual lab people, so it would make sense.
I think just around that time in the 80s, that was the height and popularity of the robotic arm in general.
Oh, for sure.
Like I remember in like the Sears Wish book, there was like a robot, like a remote controlled robotic arm toy that you could get that I was, like I so wanted that fucking thing.
Coveting. What do you get? And you get it and you're like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it.
Nothing. You just like, I don't know. Yeah. You pick stuff up with it. Like put them down. Pick them up, put them down.
That's like when you ask for the remote control car or the crappy remote control car for Christmas and you get it and the batteries last like 3 minutes and you're just like, oh, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, even worse, I think, because like you said, you can at least drive like a remote controlled car around. The robotic arm, like, it's one of those things that seems cool and then you're like, oh, yeah, right.
That's true. I picked up a pen, Mom. Like, yeah, great job, Timmy.
Yeah, exactly. What do I do now? Put it down? Okay,
done.
When the whole sequence when they are putting the re-enlarging tuck and it says eat me, drink me on the computer, which was so stupid. I don't know why they bothered. Like,
I know,
right? But then I love how Jack goes, "Oh, it's from The Exorcist." It's like, what, dude? The Exorcist, right?
Yeah, I mean it was silly, but there was something about that whole scene, that whole exchange that happens before they re-enlarge Tuck that was just frenetic and goofy and funny.
Similar to your comment about sticking a flask out the side of the pod and how ridiculous that is. I thought it was quite funny how Jack ends up smooching Meg Ryan and Tuck ends up in Meg Ryan and then goes and finds the baby. Like, I just think, like, for all the high quality special effects and amazing interiors, like, he goes from the ear canal to the mouth to like so quick. It was like Game of Thrones jumping around the continent, super quick traveling and stuff. It was so funny.
Fast speed traveling, yeah.
I never got that. I was like, so when people kiss, the person in the pod automatically just goes over to the next person? Like, that's just...
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it can't be helped. Like, the exchange of fluids is just too powerful. Yeah, it just seemed odd to me.
It did, and it also seemed odd to me, too. There just seemed to be like an ocean of saliva, like...
Yeah, that was a very wet French kiss. Freedom kiss. It
was a gusher.
And then she's just like, kiss me back, and he'll go back inside you. He's like, oh, okay.
But similar to what you said before, it's all like really dumb, but immediately forgivable. You're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, we're this far along with the damn thing. Who cares?
Right, exactly. I mean, the guy got miniaturized.
Yeah. It's like by the third act, and you're just like, all right, come on, let's wrap this up. What? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Are we far enough along that we can talk about the end? Or
we're pretty much at the end, my friend. We're at the wedding, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. No, I didn't. I guess what I should have said is I didn't know if you guys had anything else prior to the end that you wanted to talk about, because the end just is. There's a lot going on at the end.
Definitely.
So we have the literally perfect, picture perfect, weather perfect wedding of Tuck and Lydia. Jack becomes the confident man that he always wanted to be, and finally tells Wendy to go take a hike, which I thought was the best part. And then we see the cowboy again. We get a huge setup for a sequel, and then Jack is like, that was the cowboy. Jack Putter to the rescue. He jumps in the Camaro. The Mustang. And then the closing credits, he's driving on Latigo Canyon Road in Malibu. Like I used to ride on those roads on a motorcycle when I was out in California.
Yeah. It zooms out and there's no limo anymore, and it's just him cruising.
Right. Well, that was it. It's like, wait, he's chasing him to where? And where are they? Like, they're going to a honeymoon on the mountain, number one. Number two, where's the limo? And then it was just such a kind of I don't know. I always love when Ben says nothing burger. It's like kind of a nothing burger of an ending. It's like, it just leaves me with blue balls, kind of like, what's going on? We got a possible sequel here, and then they just kind of ruin the ending with this dumb driving sequence,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was waiting for a sequel for that for quite some time, and then I forgot about it, and now I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yeah, same here. Exactly the same sequence of thought.
Maybe after the humongous success of our extreme sports scooter movie, we can go on to make a sequel.
I am all about that.
Why not?
Extreme sports scooter movie, Gleaming the Turd.
Gleaming the Turd, the Christmas extreme sports scooter movie, if you'll recall.
Oh, right, of course.
And if, this may be my third death, but if you want to take care of those blue balls, Kev, you do have a vibrator attachment that you could sort that out with.
It's definitely not a death, dude. How would I do that? I don't understand.
Oh, well, when a man loves a woman, well, they love each other very much,
You see, Billy, when a man loves a woman.
You ever been inside a Turkish prison, Billy?
Oh, God. Jesus. Nice.
Perfect throwback.
You ever hang around the men's locker room, Joey?
We're never going to get a better segue to rating this thing.
What, than that right there?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, let's rate it, man. What do we do for movies again? We do letters?
You always get it backwards, man.
No, numbers. I always do get it backwards. And Ben uses the improbability drive on films.
Correct.
Yeah. You usually just say whatever Ben rates it tends to be what you rate it. So we can just let Ben go first then.
Because I always copy Jarhigo, right? Well, since this was Jarhigo's pick, let's do, Ben, why don't you go first?
Sure. Straight up, this one for me is an 8 out of 10 golden vibrating dildo Igo arm attachments.
Perfect.
You knew I was going to do that. I mean, I was kind of bummed out when you mentioned the dildo in the first 5 minutes of talking, but
sorry, man.
It's all right. It's all right. It had to be. Yeah, I love this movie. It is a joy.
What can I ask you a question? Why only an 8? What about the film removed the other 2 points that would bring it up to a 10? Because this is a pretty stellar movie. Even today, I think we all agree that this movie holds up beautifully. The effects hold up beautifully. So many great things to like here.
I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I'd have to look at my other ratings and see. But I'm wrong because Chad's algorithm always makes me feel like I'm overrating movies. So I always, the reason I'm notched back 2 stars, not giving it a 10 or a 9, which seems completely reasonable to me, is because I feel I deducted those stars specifically because I was afraid I was going to, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Too much disparity there. Yeah.
Right. Sure. You know what I mean? Everybody knows.
Yeah, I do. No, I do.
I know what you mean, bro.
Everybody, you know what I mean.
You know what I mean.
Thank you. Good night. Yeah.
Well, I think what I take from what you're saying is that I tend to be too harsh, and maybe you worry about being too generous in general to these movies.
Yeah,
I don't think you're too generous,
Sure.
but I definitely come down a bit too harsh.
Yeah, it's well, it's also like I don't want to disservice some other movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, somewhere around an 8 or 9.
That's good.
I like it.
I like it. I like it a lot. Algorithm.
Yeah,
What do you got?
so my rating is definitely quite a bit lower, but it's because of the algorithmic million movie list. I'm finding a lot of these types of movies hard to rate just because, I don't know, part of me wants to not have nostalgia cloud the judgment, but it's also difficult to like measure a romping comedy versus like a modern think piece movie, you know, like it's a very difficult thing to compare and contrast. But some of the movies in the neighborhood, like as I've mentioned before, like a 5 is a good movie and a 6 is a really good and a 4 is a borderline. So I definitely think it's a good movie. But when I put it into the algorithm in the good movie neighborhood, similar to Rise of Skywalker or Nothing But Trouble, it was around movies like Sunshine or Dune, for example, which you were super surprised about, Kev, because you consider both of those to be really good movies. But, you know, like, for example, Sunshine I really like as a movie, but the ending, the third act kind of falls apart for me. Like, I don't really like the direction that it goes, so that's kind of what makes it a borderline movie for me, even though it's quite good. And similarly, you know, Dune, similarly, like, if the director washes his hands of it, it's by definition a fucking borderline movie, you know? So,
okay, fair enough.
It's kind of hard to kind of put a movie like Innerspace above something like a Dune or, you know, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome or something. Like, it's in the neighborhood, but... I
mean, I get it. I know, and I understand that your algorithm has its own parameters, but I don't think that that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I think a movie like this can easily exist above a film like that if the sum of all the parts are greater.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of this film.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you guys talking about it, I think I was a tiny bit harsh to it, but at the same time, like, I think it's a solid movie, tons of great nostalgia. I think because of the silliness, I kind of chose to go slightly borderline with it, but it's a highly recommendable film. I'd be very curious to see what somebody like nowadays, you know, maybe if your kids were a little older, for example, like what your kids would think of it or something, like whether they'd just be like, that's dumb, or whether they'd be like, that was fun, you know?
Yeah, no, I would be curious to hear somebody's reaction as well. So what is your score?
So 4.6 is mine. So it's
wow,
very close to the good movie, very high on the borderline, but it's a good movie.
Wow. Okay. As I said in my notes, this is such good fun. And I've already extolled the virtues of this film. Martin Short, Meg Ryan, all of these smaller actors and all of these smaller roles that just really brought this movie to life. The story, everything about it is so great. This movie gets a 9. Absolutely. It holds up well as a science fiction film. It holds up well as a comedy. It holds up well as an action film. I could even argue that this movie almost looks like it could have been made 7 years ago. And that's how well it holds up. And that's sort of the legacy of Spielberg, too. I mean, he didn't direct the film, but it is a Spielberg film. You know, he produced it.
Yeah, Amblin.
Yeah, and Joe Dante worked with Spielberg on a lot of his stuff. Gremlins and, you know, Amazing Stories and all that thing. So yeah, this movie gets a 9. I think it's fantastic. I was worried that it wouldn't hold up, and it held up beautifully, and it was an absolute joy to watch. I get what you're saying about the nostalgia factor, but, you know, it was, and yeah, that's in there for sure, but not so much. I really think that this is good. Really, really good.
Yeah, that's fair.
A lot of great things going on.
Do you think it's better than Escape from New York?
Yeah, I do. And the reason why is because, like, again, when you add up the sum of all the parts of this film, you know, you get a lot, you know, as opposed to Escape from New York, which is probably a little bit lower, you know, a little bit, not a ton, but this is well done in a lot of areas, man. I mean, it won an Academy Award for VFX, you know, The acting is stellar. The writing was great.
It's an interesting comparison because, you know, Escape from New York is kind of sparse. Like,
very.
It's 2 hours and there's not a whole hell of a lot that transpires. And this movie manages to cram a ton of shit into it without losing the plot. You know, like, it manages to hold together really nicely. It's a very different styles of movie, beyond the fact that one's, sort of just a straight action movie, and the other one is like a comedy, action, sci-fi.
Yeah. That's an interesting point.
Despite that, just the style of movie is very different.
Similar question. How do you think, I'm just for the sake of curiosity, how do you think it holds up against like a Lethal Weapon or a Beverly Hills Cop?
I would put it on the same level as those two films. Like, those are really good 80s films. Beverly Hills Cop obviously is a comedy film with action, very the same exact type of movie as this, minus the science fiction. Lethal Weapon is definitely more of a serious film, but in terms of like, the sum of their parts equaling something great, there's absolutely with both of them. I think all three of those movies are on the same level.
Benny, similar thoughts?
Those are all on a similar level for me as well. I think, thinking back to like when I was a kid, this movie resonated with me more. Innerspace, that is, resonated with me more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because of the sci-fi aspect. I was a little sci-fi nerd, and I loved sci-fi, and I was like, oh, this is like those movies, only it's got this other cool thing that I love too, Yeah.
Well, by that rationale, I'm just picking a couple of things further up on the algorithm just to kind of see. Like, I think I'll stick with my rating, but I think I was a bit harsh, but because I feel like both of your ratings are perfectly legit, and I 100% you kind of resonate with the enthusiasm. I just find it interesting to kind of think about it on my own, like, what do I think about this movie, and then compare it and come up with a number, and then it's interesting to hear what you guys have to say, because it's like, yeah, maybe I didn't think this through, or maybe I wasn't thinking about this in the right way.
Yeah, right on. I mean, this movie holds an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that it's like the end all be all, but
decent indicator though.
Well, it's a really good metric of like, even if you're not interested in critical reviews, critical ratings, like there's also fan ratings on Rotten Tomatoes as well. And that's pretty good. It's usually a pretty good indicator of like where a film stands and how well it holds up. So the fact that it still has an 82% is, that says something.
Well, just to kind of add some context, if I gave this a 4.6, which is just below, the good movie thing, like Beverly Hills Cop's a 5.7. So it wouldn't move much if it was going to move because the algorithm is so broad. But I definitely appreciate the enthusiasm you guys brought to your ratings. I definitely think I might have overdone it a bit. Overcooked her.
Yeah. That's a tough thing. It's a tough undertaking you've given yourself there, Chad, with that algorithm. It's
definitely, man.
When you're talking about comparing every movie to every movie, that's no easy task, and it's got to make rating. It's got to make rating really hard, and it's changed. I mean, I don't really have a problem with two movies having the same rating. Yeah, and I can still tell you, which one I prefer, but it's still like. I can still say like, oh well, I think they're both like of the same quality, or they both have like these things that are good about them that add up to this number for me, and they could be two completely different kinds of movies. So what you're doing is something different, and I admire you for it for sure, and it definitely makes me feel like I should be a little more conservative about my ratings instead of just gushing out, giving everything a 9.5,
I like that we don't all have algorithms, though. I like the improbability stuff.
Same here.
It's like, it's more heartfelt, I think, and less analytical, and I definitely dig it.
Yeah. I would also say that my ratings have a potential to change, Yeah. Like I might be enamored with something in the moment and then look at it later and go, eh. So it's also more fickle.
But I'm finding the same thing with the algorithm, where I'll rewatch and it'll be like, I'll look on the algorithm and I'll see that it's already there, and I'll watch it again and just be like, I'm totally wrong.
Yeah.
So I feel like the whole thing is just kind of like, it's like a snapshot in time, and it's like constantly changing, and it's way too much of an undertaking to like stay up to date with it. But just generally speaking, I find it moves around a fair bit. Anyway.
I mean, the rating is like an afterthought for me anyways. I'm here to just like talk to you guys about a fun movie, like it's about the discussion and where that goes. And the rating is kind of like, yeah, well, we may as well do it while we're here,
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So, algorithm, where are we flying to next week?
There's nothing official for next week.
Ooh.
But because this movie is actually directly connected to Commando, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this movie as the lady in the supermarket, I was thinking maybe Commando. How would you guys feel about that?
I'll agree to that if it doesn't use up my pick.
It does not use up your pick.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool.
It's our little half-month Vernon Wells extravaganza.
So there you have it, folks. Commando for next week. Tune in for that. Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of In This Episode, Everybody Dies. I'm Mulvey saying bye.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Do you guys want to say goodbye to everybody?
That was my goodbye.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. I was waiting for something else to happen. Yeah. See you, everyone.
No. Nothing else is happening.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 80s titular classic Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can find the show notes for today's episode in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/39.
39? Yes.
You can shoot us questions using the Twitter hashtag AskEBD. You can find me at Molverine on Twitter. That's MOHLVERINE. Chad is at Chad Normal on Twitter, and Ben is at Jarhigo on Twitter, JARHEEGO. I'd like to take a minute and thank all of you folks for tuning into the show. It means so much to me and the boys. And if you'd like to support the show, there are a couple of great ways you can do that. You can rate us and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also tell somebody to check out the show. Word of mouth is incredibly important, incredibly powerful, and incredibly effective. So please spread the word. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.